A big step forward in the push to get untraceable guns off our streets. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
And I'm Jesse Pagan. The San Diego City Council has voted to make it illegal to own a ghost gun, even if it's just the parts and the weapon isn't assembled. News 8's Steve Price has more on today's vote and the reason behind the one dissenting council vote.
In 2018, San Diego police confiscated an average of 4 ghost guns every month. Fast forward to this year, 2021, and San Diego police say at this point they are averaging confiscating 36 ghost guns every month. And they say these untraceable weapons are being used more and more in shootings by people who aren't even legally allowed to have a gun. This is the shooting that many say epitomizes the problem. A valet in the Gaslamp gunned down last April with a ghost gun.
Ghost guns, which are sometimes referred to as do-it-yourself guns that can be built at home, do not have serial numbers and therefore are untraceable and evade all law enforcement tactics.
The shooter opened fire on several other victims that night, and the man charged with committing these crimes is a convicted felon, so he can't legally buy a gun.
Ghost guns undermine all of our federal and state gun safety laws by getting around background checks that prevent people who are not supposed to have firearms from obtaining them. This includes violent criminals, domestic abusers, individuals suffering from mental illness, and terrorists.
But under current laws, felons aren't prevented from buying all the parts needed to make a gun, and you can easily get them shipped to your house even if you're under 18.
As a minor at the time, I purchased all the parts of a ghost gun kit that were shipped directly to my house, and we've documented the whole process, and the craziest part about it, it was all completely legal.
Today, the City Council voted 8-1 to ban ghost guns. The ordinance prohibits buying, selling, or possessing the frame of an unfinished gun unless it has a serial number. But Councilmember Chris Cate, the lone no vote, calls it unrealistic to think this ordinance will stop bad people from doing bad things.
This law does nothing to prevent mass shootings. This law does nothing to hold criminals accountable. This law does nothing to make us safer. But what this law does do is automatically make every law-abiding gun owner that lives in the city of San Diego and happens to own an unfinished frame or receiver a criminal overnight.
San Diego police say ghost guns that cost less than $600 to make usually sell for around $1,000 on the street. The new ordinance needs a second vote next month and is expected to go into effect sometime in the fall. Steve Price, News 8.
Steve, thank you. We have new video from San Diego police showing a shooting involving 2 officers and a man they say refused to drop a ghost gun.
We'd like to warn you that the video you're about to see is disturbing, but we have frozen at the moment before the shots were fired.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun now!
Police say officers Gregory Bergman and Anthony Guerra shot 22-year-old Jesus Salvador Valletta back on July 23rd after he refused demands to stop and drop the gun. Valletta died at a hospital a short time later. He was in a car with 3 other people that officers pulled over near El Cajon Boulevard and 54th Street.
Police say Valletta then ran, which led to the deadly shooting. Officers were looking for the men for their suspected roles in 2 other shootings earlier that day. Prosecutors are charging the 3 other men in the car with Valletta's murder, as well as robbery, firearm assault, and criminal conspiracy.
A San Diego police officer accused of threatening someone outside a Pacific Beach bar with a gun is bailed out of jail. It happened Saturday night in Pacific Beach while Trevor Sterling was off duty. Police say Sterling owns the gun involved. He was arrested on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon and suspended without pay. Today, Chief David Nisleit was quoted in a police statement as saying, "This type of behavior is unbecoming of any police officer. I want the community to know this will be investigated to the fullest and sent to the district attorney's office for review." Sterling is expected in court on December 13th.
One of the first school districts in the state to reopen is now seeing a rise in COVID cases, and that has parents and staff worried.
The spreading Delta variant has caused new cases to spike throughout the county. That includes the South Bay, just as students in the Sweetwater Union High School District return to campus for their new year. News 8's Shannon Handy talked with one worried teacher and the district on their response.
Carlo and Jesse, out of nearly 40,000 students and staff, the district has recorded 58 COVID cases since reopening less than 2 weeks ago. Now, while that may not seem like a lot, one teacher we heard from says he's concerned if safety protocols don't change, things will just get worse.
This is an active, ongoing conversation among the teachers.
Dr. Thomas Lead is a science teacher at Eastlake High School, where as of Monday, 8 COVID cases have been reported. This chart lists the number of cases at all Sweetwater Union High School district campuses. There have been 58 so far, just 0.14% of the district's 40,000 students and staff. Among Dr. Lead's concerns, the district's quarantine policy, which mandates anyone with COVID stay home for 10 days and then return with a negative test. But when it comes to those in contact with that person, if they're vaccinated, they can remain on campus as long as they're symptom-free. If they're not vaccinated, they could still stay if they agree to a series of COVID tests over a 10-day period.
The problem is that quarantine only works when you actually isolate the people who are contagious. And with this coronavirus, people are contagious before they have symptoms.
The district has already canceled after-school activities for the next 4 weeks, including dances. Sports are still allowed. Dr. Leach says that's a start, but what about other events, like an assembly planned at his school later this week where masks are not required since it's outside?
Our Teachers Association representatives on site had a very vigorous conversation last night about this assembly, about the safety of things on campus. Is it really safe for us to be open at all?
A district spokesperson tells News 8 policies are based off of guidance from the CDC, San Diego Public Health Department, and the County Office of Education, adding COVID cases on campuses are expected given the overall rise in the surrounding community.
The cases are rising within the community, and so what we're finding is that community spread has made its way onto our campuses.
Dr. Lee does credit the district for following current protocols, but says he and his fellow staff members plan to voice their concerns to the board, hoping they'll make some adjustments.
We should be erring on the side of over-quarantining people, not under-quarantining people.
A district spokesperson says they will consider adding extra safety protocols. Nothing planned as of yet, but they are closely monitoring the situation.
Shan, thank you. Firefighters made quick work of a brush fire near the freeway in Normal Heights. It started around 1 this afternoon near the 805 South off-ramp at Adams Avenue. That's video right there of it all. CHP says it's possible someone on the street above working on their car sparked the fire. No injuries or damage were reported.
And unfortunately, there will be more potential for that throughout this week as we are dealing with hot, dry conditions. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis. We started off the week with some hot temperatures, talking about the inland heat. 103 was the high today for Valley Center. Also in the triple digits for El Cajon, the same for Alpine and for Campo. 92 degrees for Julian today. You had the 80s along the coast and 99 for Ramona. But we didn't have any record temperatures for our county, but for the area of Southern California, you're talking about Anaheim. They hit 100 degrees today. That's 3 degrees, breaking that record that was set in this day back in 1997. So we are seeing the heat. We're starting off the week with it. It's going to keep going all the way until Wednesday. We're talking daytime highs for the valleys between 90 to 100 degrees. We had that today, expecting that tomorrow and also on Wednesday in the afternoon hours. And below 6,000 feet, 88 to 100 is expected for daytime highs in the mountains. Now that's in effect right now. What will start tomorrow is the excessive heat warning for the desert, and that's with highs right back into those 110s, potentially up to 120. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast coming up. Carlo?
Thanks, Carlene. Thousands of San Diego-based sailors are off to sea tonight after tearful goodbyes. The USS Carl Vinson left NAS North Island earlier today. It's the heart of a strike group that will support global maritime security operations. We don't know exactly where the group is heading, but the Navy tells us they will go where they are needed. The deployment marks the first time a carrier strike group will set sail with both the new F-35C fighter jet and Osprey aircraft.